What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and whether you're watching on YouTube, Rumble, Parler, BitChute, or Odyssey, I'm really glad you chose to tune in today, and I hope today will be the day I earn your subscription. Here on YouTube, there's a little red subscribe button down below, and the various other platforms all have similar options. I cover video game news, Hollywood news, tech censorship news, technology, entertainment, music, basically everything other than straight politics on this channel, and I would love to have you on board as a subscriber. Now, the PlayStation 5 is out and 11 people have it. And Miles Morales, Spider-Man's Miles Morales, is the big launch title for the console. I suppose Demon Souls is also very popular. PlayStation 5 seemingly having the slightly stronger launch if we just put overall demand into question. Now, maybe there were just way more Microsoft Series X's available, and that's the case, but according to eBay, the PlayStation 5 is selling for nearly triple its manufactured suggested retail price, while the Xbox Series X is only selling for double. But that wouldn't stop the woke media from getting upset about Spider-Man working with the police, because that's what we do. Here on Gizmodo, a technology website, Charles Pulliam Moore says Miles Morales reforms Spider-Man's relationship with the police when it needs to be abolished. Insomniac's Spider-Man, Miles Morales, follows the fledgling web hand as he steps out from under Peter Parker's shadow. He's defending New York City on his own for the first time, just as a bitter ground battle breaks out between the nefarious Roxxon Corporation and tech-powered underground movement. Now, as Miles is to this life, fighting crime is his calling, and he's ready to step up to the plate. As the conflict spills out of Harlem into other neighborhoods, Miles realizes that he has to intervene because New York City's conveniently out of superheroes all of a sudden. Not to mention the NYPD's deeply unprepared to go toe-to-toe with either the Underground or Roxxon's trigger-happy commandos. By placing its hero at the center of the ongoing battle between the two factions, Miles Morales follows in its predecessor's narrative, footsteps, and plays into the idea of Spider-Man, regardless of whether it's Peter or Miles, under the mask, always being pulled into different directions. Of course, now in Insomniac's first Spider-Man game, Peter spends considerable amount of time of the core campaign assisting the NYPD in their battle to take down both Wilson Fisk and Martin Lee, while also dealing with the trigger-happy Sable International commandos and escapees from the raft. Were it not for Peter's efforts, New York cops would be utterly overwhelmed by the superpowered threats facing their city, but Peter, the self-proclaimed Spidey cop, is all too eager to help out the boys in blue. He ultimately sees their vigilantism as an extension of law and order the police purport to represent. Even after you beat the core campaigns, as you play through the post-game searching for all the holdouts from Lee's inner demon gang who continue organizational operations to their leader's been in prison, Peter uses messages intercepted from a police scanner to keep informed on crimes. The NYPD might not exactly know what Spider-Man's working with them to rid the city of evil, but the game makes it impossible to misunderstand that Peter sees the police as an invaluable tool, as his web-slinging arsenal. Oh no! Oh no! You can't see, here's the thing. These weirdos out there, they don't understand or accept even any positive representation of police. Long gone for them are the, forgetting of them running into the towers almost a certain death to save citizens, and putting their lives on the line every single day. No, these people who sit from the comfort of their upper middle class apartments, making $50,000 to $75,000 a year, writing articles for websites, who's the first person they're going to call? But they have a problem with cops appearing in the game, even though this game, of course, has their Black Lives Matter mural in it. Cops are very much a part of Miles Morales' world, even beyond his late father's Jefferson, who an officer who died in the line of duty during the events of the first game. You don't have to look particularly hard to spot them patrolling the streets or popping up in action-packed cutscenes where it's obvious they're out of their depth. The police are in the sidelines, and this all-new, all-different Spider-Man single-handedly rallies the city to save from destruction. This time, though, they're presented with inert, mostly unengaged presence that interacts with reality far less than the game's NPCs. With Miles Morales, Insomniac crafted a more than solid first outing for New York's newest Spider-Man that makes the prospect of future games an interesting one. But if the game studio really wants its next generation take on New York City's finest, web slingers to feel dynamic, engaged people at the center of the stories worth diving into, it's going to have to do a better job of addressing the way things actually are, rather than how we want them to be. Miles is a black Latinx son of a slain cop and aspiring local politician whose entire campaign revolved around making Harlem stronger, safer community for the representative. Okay, Latino viewers, I think I already know your answer here, but non-Latino users, I want you, if you have a Latino friend, I want you to ask them what they think of being called Latinx. I bet you most of them don't even know what it means, and I guarantee the ones that do don't like it. You know the people that like using Latinx? White women. There isn't a single Latino that I know that would ever want to be called Latinx. That's neither here nor there, though. Miles is also justice-minded vigilante who knows that he can do what the cops can and won't. Everything about Miles as a hero makes it difficult to sit with the idea that he wouldn't have a more complicated and at times negative relationship with the police. Yes, of course. It's at the same time the story eschews making petty drug busts in favor of stopping arms dealers from selling weapons in Central Park. It largely sidesteps making mention of how the police historically existed as organizations harboring the very same kind of domestic meanies Miles wants you to take down with well-timed venom blasts. How about this article from Time magazine? Spider-Man Miles Morales could have tackled police reform head-on. Instead, the cops are almost entirely gone. Urgh! Why won't these video games portray police in negative light? Brought to you by the very same people as one bad apple doesn't spoil the bunch. Yeah, of course there are bad cops. Guess what? There are also bad Subway sandwich artisans. There are bad janitors. There are bad firemen. There are bad Major League Baseball players. There are bad NFL players. Bad people exist in every single profession across the world. With police, obviously, it's different, a little different given the balance of power, and I 100% support rooting out the bad ones. And guess what? This may shock you, woke media. Most police would agree with me. Yes, the thin blue line is a problem, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, you can't paint all police as evil, regardless of that. And you cannot demand your video games do that. This is pathetic. The Spider-Cop storyline was cringe-worthy. And who's using cringe in 2020? Anyway, 5 years after the BLM movement began to coalesce, it has aged even worse in the past year, as fresh protests against the police have erupted across the world. This year's follow-up game, Spider-Man Miles Morales, whose hero is a black Puerto Rican teen, offered Insomniac an opportunity to address these criticisms, but while the game is a joy to play... Oh! Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. Because that's what gamers want. That's what, allegedly, I may have negotiated a deal with a friend of mine to get a PlayStation 5 in studio here. And yeah, I definitely want to try out Miles Morales after Demon's Souls. People play video games because they're fun. I know this is probably shocking, but people play video games because they're fun, not because they want activism. With a wonderful cast of characters and set in new thrilling Spidey powers, it also bends over backwards to avoid any nuanced conversation about criminal justice. In fact, the police have largely been removed from the game, skirting the issue entirely. Get out of here. So you psychos had a huge problem with police being in the first game. I remember all the articles. They removed them to avoid that same criticism, which is, I'm sure, why they did it. And now you're butthurt that they removed them. To its credit, Insomniac did realize that Miles can't have the same relationship with the police as Parker, a white man. So instead of getting tips from cops, Miles' friend designs an app that allows distressed New Yorkers to report crimes directly to Spider-Man. I don't know if that's because he's black. Maybe he's just using modern technology. Do they say that in the game's narrative? I don't know. But why would Miles rather avoid the police, or why Harlem residents might turn to him rather than the cops? It's never stated outright, and the players might have different expectations for how the game ought to handle unspoken moments of tension. A black player who has grown up approaching police with caution because of racism in our criminal justice system might immediately understand what's going on, whereas a white player might need more subtle plot points spelled to them because they've had a radically different experience with the PD. See, you just wrote 5,000 words about how a video game isn't political enough for you. That's the problem. Oh, another white person talking about how other white people should think. I wish I could say I was shocked. You can see there's plenty to love about Spider-Man's Miles Morales, but Insomniac bends over backwards to avoid a nuanced conversation about racism and policing. Let's see how the replies are. If you're looking for video games to address social issues, you don't understand video games. People in general are bombarded with information almost every minute of the waking day. Video games are an escape for us to allow us some time to sort through it, at least briefly. These people don't want anyone to have a break because they themselves don't give themselves a break. That's why they're all so insufferable. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed your Spider-Man Miles Morales. The original Spider-Man, if you never played it for PS4, is an excellent game and still holds up in my opinion. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.